We're going to continue talking about this. The Queensland Police Union support the amendments this week. Here's what the President, Ian Levers, had to say.
I 100% support this because the bigger issue is this amendment gets around what the do-gooders and lawyers who want to hide behind human rights and say watch houses are not a fit place for a youth criminal. Well, I say this, until the new youth detention centres are constructed, we have to have an option. And the option is not allowing these youth criminals back into the community who've committed very serious crimes such as murder, violent armed robberies and home invasions and rape, as well as stealing cars and causing mayhem in the community. So I take the human rights of the young criminal, but I'm also, what about the human rights of the victims? We never hear about the victims. The victims need to be protected, and if these people cannot stop committing crimes, they need to be kept in a cell, albeit a watch house or a youth detention centre, so be it. But all youths have an option, and that is, if you don't do a crime, you'll do no time.
So many people are asking, why this move, why now? Because this has been happening for such a long time. Some people are feeling like this has been rushed through. What's your take on that?
No, what I do know has happened of recent times in the last few weeks. The Attorney General and the Youth Justice Minister were aware of matters where do-gooders and some lawyers were looking at the human rights with a view to ensuring that no youth criminals were going to be put in the watch houses. Now, that is a real issue because the youth detention centres are at capacity, but we have to do something, and we have to protect the community and the rights of victims. So this is a temporary option, and they will be in a watch house where they will not be with adults. They will not be in danger. In fact, I'll suggest many of them will be safer in a watch house than where they will be in their own environment, and that is a sad indictment upon our society. But I say this is a short-term solution. We cannot arrest our way out of it, but we need to look at a long-term solution, and that is all levels of government working together, along with communities, non-government organisations, to solve this so we can get generational change. Because I've heard in the past, it's you can't arrest your way out of things. There has to be a long-term plan. I've done some research on that, but it requires everyone to work together and not people just wanting to bang on about a problem, but a genuine solution. And I go back to what Warren Mundine said. He said it's about education and jobs. And sadly, a lot of these youth criminals, 70% in Queensland, are from First Nations backgrounds. They live in poverty. They have little to no education. So there's some of the things we have to address so we can get generational change. And it's actually a sad indictment upon society. But we've got to look after victims and protect victims. There are no other options. I've seen lawyers and courts release them back into the community, and we're getting more victims of violent crime. That is not acceptable, and we have to protect people.
I spoke with retired magistrate Pat O'Shane on the program this morning, and she's made some claims, including saying that people are using children to play the race card, and she's also described the state government's suspension of that Human Rights Act to detain children in police watch houses as a move toward fascism. What's your take on that?
I totally reject that in every way, shape or form. It's not using the children. We are seeing a youth crime epidemic, not only in Australia, but around the world. There are no consequences for actions. We need to modify that, and that needs to be generational change. And I say to these do-gooders and people like the former magistrate, what were they doing 5 or 10 years ago when this problem was brewing? Because the issue is now, police are responding now, so all these do-gooders should get out of their chairs and go and look after people when they know the problem is about to occur. And that's what I'm suggesting as we move into the future. Everyone needs to work together to stop this, but there has to be a short-term solution. Try telling, and it's only alleged, but what happened to the 3 people in Maryborough by an alleged 13-year-old in a stolen car who killed 3 people. Try tell the families in the community of Maryborough that person should not be kept behind bars. That is absolutely unacceptable. It is a shame that the youth detention centres are full, but we have to do something, and releasing them into the community is not the option. It's not fascism. It's an indictment upon our society that we've actually got to this point.
Queensland Police Union President Ian Lever's there, and Paul from Cairns has sent through a text saying it's about time the victims of youth crime get some justice instead of looking after repeat offenders. Do the crime, do the time. That's from Paul from Cairns.